He became a monk very late in life, and then he was not learned in scriptures. One day he said he went ruby mining in Mogok. He had been a farmer, he had been a roadside worker and so on. And one day in Mogok, and at a roadside stall, he saw this book. Contemplating arising and passing away first, without even contemplating mind and matter, your wrong view, your deity, would not even be shaken in the least bit. What do I do to get rid of this wrong view of self, Sakaya deity? Because the Venerable was saying, you are only contemplating arising and passing away, and your Sakaya deity will not be shaken off even in the least bit, he was saying. So what do I do now? I was thinking, and he was giving me the answer. To get rid of Sakaya deity, go back to contemplating mind and matter first. Only with contemplation of mind and matter, your wrong view of self, Sakaya deity, will be dispelled.
Whether one is listening to this in Myanmar or from outside the country, we know it is a very difficult time for those of us who hold the Golden Land and its people in our hearts. In trying times like these, we can all use a bit more care and compassion in our lives. So on behalf of the team here at Insight Myanmar, I would like to say, in the traditional way metta is offered, may you be free from physical discomfort. May you be free from mental discomfort. May you not meet dangers or enemies. May you live a peaceful and happy life. And may all beings be free and come out of suffering. And with that, let's move on to the show.
So I'm so glad you stopped by. A spontaneous talk with Dr. Jenny Ko Gyi. You were in the area, and one of the people that I really wanted to have on for a long time. It's really difficult to try to put into words everything that it is you do. One of the main things you do is translations. You translate for foreign yogis here in all kinds of traditions in Monle and Mogok and Shui Yumin, Yol Sayadaw, the Buddhist University, ITBMU. You've also done written translations for a number of work. I think you've worked on projects with Seyaji Ubaken translations as well. So
and Monle Sayadaw, also known as the Pakoku Sayadaw.
Of course, Pakoku Sayadaw as well, right. And a lot in addition to that, we'll get to all of that. There's a lot of Dhamma activities that you're involved in today, so many ways that you've helped foreigners and enriched the life of foreign meditators and monks and nuns who've come to this country. And even this hour or so that we interview, I feel bad that both of your phones have to be in a separate room and turned off. I can only imagine how many calls you're going to be getting from people who are in need of your help, but we just grab you for this moment here and able to check in and hear about everything you're doing. Before we do that, what I'd really like to know is just start at the beginning to be able to to know your background, to hear about where you came from, that will help us to understand all the different Dhamma activity and the spiritual journey that you've been on up to here. So if we could just start back at the very beginning and learn about your early days.
Like most of us, we started school. In those days, we went to Christian missionary schools, the St. Augustine's on Inya Road, and then St. John's Convent on Bojok Aung San Road. And having been brought up in those schools, I was not very much into Buddhism. But then when our family, my husband was posted to the Western Mountain Ranges, I started to have this chance to read about the Buddha Vamsa. And then it was then that I realized I wanted to really hear to talks about great people in the Buddhist way. And then I wanted to hear about their teachings. And in the most unexpected way, I met my very first master.
If we can back up just a little before that, because I've heard your story before, and I think there's one thing you're leaving out that I found very interesting, was some of the first spiritual interest and contact you had at, I think, St. Augustine's?
Before that, I was not much into Buddhism, because we started school, saying prayers, and then we went to the hall crossing over across the compound, and then we sang hymns, and those were the things I loved: the Christmases, the Christmas trees, the carols. And then before that, because I was a swimmer, and I moved on to the St. John's because I had more swimming teammates there. I loved those carols, those churches, because the atmosphere, quiet, sweet, serene, and when I entered churches, the quiet and serene atmosphere was what attracted me.
And how about your family? Did you come from a Buddhist family, or?
Sure, definitely.
So although you came from a Buddhist family, you didn't have an early interest in Buddhism, and actually your first spiritual interest was Christianity, Catholicism, exactly,
yes,
right?
Because my parents were so nice, and whatever interest I had, they would not push me hard. So it was the hymns, the churches, the Christmases, the carols. Those were the things as a young girl.
And the saints as well attracted you?
Yes.
Yeah, in what way?
Because in those days, it was what I heard, what I learned. Because I hadn't heard much about the Arahants that I am now very much interested in. And so all those books, and then of course the saints that we read in Christian schools were also very virtuous persons. They had their sacrifices, they had their good deeds that they rendered toward all they came across. And even though it's not like those great beings in Buddhism that I now am familiar with, those Christians, they also were great beings, great humans, with all their compassion, with all their faith in what they were doing. So they have their very interesting and wonderful parts of their lives I was interested in.
And so you went to Catholic school, Christian school here
Catholic schools.
In Myanmar.
Because those days, most of us, we all had to go to those schools. There were Burmese government-run schools, of course, and then in remote villages, the Burmese schools were all they had. But for most of us in cities, those missionary schools were all we all had.
This was the best style of education. Yes. Even people like Sayadaw Baken was educated in these Catholic schools.
Every one of us, almost all
right,
of us.
Until 1962 when...
And then our teachers, our fathers, our headmasters and headmistresses, our mothers, they were also very lovely. They too, in their own way, in spite of their missionary intentions, they too had their way of giving us compassion, giving us all those teachings.
They were from which countries?
It's the St. Augustine's. I think it was Father Kyuto was from France, I think. But our headmaster and our headmistress, they were born in Burma. Mr. Todd and Miss Reynolds, they were born in Burma. Because in those days, it was during the colonial days and post-colonial days. So we had all those from descendants of the Western colonial rulers.
So these weren't like expats today who were backpacking and raising their family in another place. These were actually civil servants that were either members of the government, former members.
Missionaries, also the fathers, the mothers. We call them fathers, mothers, like you do, I think. So, and we are fond of them as much as they were fond of us.
Right, and these missionary schools lasted, I believe, until 1962. This was the way many were educated in 62. All of them were closed down, and with it, this higher level of education that now only the older generation of Burmese tend to enjoy, because after that generation, there hasn't been the same standards of education, unfortunately.
And then what I liked a lot was the church. When you went in, it was quiet, it was serene, and whenever you went in, you feel this inner peace that I don't know about my other Buddhist friends, but I liked it so much.
That's great. That's great. So you graduated from these schools. I assume you got married fairly soon after.
Yes. My husband was from St. Paul's, a very big missionary school.
Right. So, and then after you were married, then soon after that, you were posted to the jungle?
Yes, near the Western Ranges. Mm-hmm. And then by that time, it was mostly Buddhist thing. But we have our Chin natives from the Western Ranges near the border with India.
This was Gangaw, was the village?
Yes.
Right.
And then beyond this Ponya Ranges, we have the Chin. They call it the Chin Hills, but it's not the hills. Those are very high mountains.
So this is in the Chin region in Western Myanmar, close to India.
Ours was the just Pongtang Ponya Ranges. We call it the Pongtang Ponya Ranges. And beyond that, a narrow valley, then come the high.
So in the Chin district.
Yes, afterward we were also posted to southern Chin, where we had a wonderful days and years of our lives and our sons' lives.
And Chin people are mostly Christian?
Mostly Christians, and we were in southern Chin, so it was almost half-half. Half were Christians, half were Buddhists. But northern Chin, it was mostly Christians.
And what was your husband's position that he was being posted?
At the Pongtang Ponya, he was a commander of the regiment there, the 50th Burma Regiment. And then after that, he was chairman of the council or something like that in southern Chin.
So how was life different there when you moved?
Our family, wherever we were, we enjoyed everything. We loved all the people. So being posted to Pongtang Ponya and being posted to the Chin Hills, we loved every day there, every moment there.
What did you like about it?
The people.
How so?
Yeah, the people, the place, the winters, the cherries, the pine trees, the oranges, the apples.
Very different.
Yeah, and the people. I love the people.
What did you like about the people?
I loved them, so they loved us. They loved our family. Because although our family was the chairman's family, but our children, they were all mixed up with the native children. And then, my husband was a musician. He played the guitar, he played the organ. And then the natives, the Christians and the Buddhists, the natives all came, and they had this band. It was the wakok. Wakok is the bird with that big beak. And then we had my husband made organized this band, and then many days all the children were there playing all their drums, their guitars, and then the electronic organs, and then they were making music. So they left us too.
Great.
Yeah.
And so then sometime into your stay there was when you had a very significant encounter with someone.
When we were in Gangaw, in Pong Nya. And then one of our major's wife, she gave me this book on. She gave me this book on Mittawada, I think. Mittawada, about loving kindness. And then when I read it, I couldn't put the book down. It was, and then after that, I went to because I was the commander's wife. I was a young wife, but then all the monasteries in town knew me, so I read all the books and translated into Burmese, and all those sotantas, and then one after another I read, and then there was Siaji Ngui Udam's translations of the sotantas, and there was this chapter on the Buddha's passing away, and it was there, or the Venerable Ananda was weeping. All those who had only attained the lower stages of deliverance, and they were weeping, and the deities came, and the Buddha was asking where Ananda was. Why are you so in tears? And then I wept too, and then I fell in love with the Buddha. I miss him. It must have been such a sad thing, and so on. And after that, I read about arahants, and I thought it would be good if I could see an arahant in my lifetime. And then I was working at the cooperative clinic at that time, and I worked in the morning. I worked the morning shift, and the other doctor, my comrade, he worked the evening shift. So in the afternoons I was free, and I had this young teacher, and I asked her, where have you been? And she said she was at a meditation retreat. And I told her, I want to have this chance to have an encounter with an arahant this life. And she said, I'm not sure if he's the one, but if you are interested, I will take you to him. And then this is how I met my first master. And hundreds of instances I had with him. And
what was his name?
Monle Sayadaw. Right. And in those days, it was a small meditation center. Not very many people there. Only the villagers near the little hill. The Monle Center was on a hillock. And then there were paddy fields in between. And then there was this West Gangaw, Gangaw village. And most of Master's devotees were from that village, Gangaw. And there was Shongshi. Those were the Chin Buddhists. I think they had been there before the colonial days. So they were Chin Buddhists. So, and they were the only devotees the Venerable had at that time.
So a small following to begin.
Yes. And during the rainy season, when the paddy plantation started, there was almost no one coming to the monastery. But of course, they would have a meal offering. They sent through the kapiya, the attendant. And in those early years, during the rainy season, I was almost the only one going to the Venerable, to the Monle Center every day. And in those days, we didn't have a bridge, so we had to whistle the boat to come pick us up.
Oh,
yeah.
Huh.
And then we crossed the sesame fields, and then we went up a small hill, which was the Palangkong. In those days, it was Palangkong, 100% Chin Christian village. And then beyond that, we walked through the paddy fields, and then only then we got to the Monle Hillock. And
so it was quite a trip to walk from your place to.
And during the summer, the water level was low, and occasionally, once or twice, I would just swim across the across the rivulet. Yeah.
Really countryside life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I loved every moment there.
Yeah.
And each time we were the order came for us to be transferred, I wept. the family, the regimental family, wept. And when we were to leave the Chin Hills, also I wept. The natives wept. I was so fond of these people. Yeah.
What were your early experiences like with Monle Sayadaw?
I didn't know I thought he was just an ordinary monk. And then the first day I went there, it was at that time we could drive across the rivulet. There were it was a temporary bridge made of bamboos, and one day I went there the first time, the second time, and then the third day I thought, okay, I this is enough. I just study, because there is this dependent origination circle, and I'll just study at home. And then on that dependent origination circle, I found something, and then this I have to ask. So I asked my husband's chauffeur to come, and then the sermons would start at 1, but we have to drive all the way along the small town, and then into a small village, and then cross the very shallow river, and then reach the other end, and again drive through 2 or 3 other villages, and another small stream, and so on, and the bank of another stream, and so on. So I was saying, I don't want to miss the sermon. I don't want to miss the sermon. I don't want to miss the sermon. I was thinking, may I be there in time? May I be there in time? I was praying this throughout the journey to the center, and then when I got there, there were about after the rains retreat, when all the paddy had been harvested, there were about 10 or 12 people, or sometimes 20 when the teachers, after holidays, when they have their holidays, they come. So, and when I went in, it was a very small hut, and then when I went in, the master said, "Of course, you are in time. You are not late." And then the first time maybe he knows I was praying. I would be there on time, and this is the first time. And then the second time, it was the 4th day, I think. And in those days, the deforestation started. Those who had power, those who had money, and those Pongtang Pongya ranges all covered with teak wood and hardwood, and then slowly they were gradually starting to disappear. And I was very sad about this. But this was how things happened in those days. And then some of those with power, they started to get involved in those things also. And on the way to the center on that day, I was saying about in a Burmese saying there is this saying, a wheel that turns so fast, then it will accidentally step on the pile of dung. And we were talking about this.
Can you say that in Burmese?
If it goes round too fast, I mean you step on the dung, pile of dung.
Right.
So their case got to the higher people. And then the girls in the car who were coming with me on that day were saying about this thing. And I told them, I was saying, because this wheel turns so fast, it stepped on the pile of dung. Mm-hmm. And then we entered the small Dhamma hall, and then Venerable, he started narrating this story. And while narrating the story, he stared right into my eyes, and with his lips. What do you do when he was exaggeratingly saying this? And he said, "You know what? This and this happened to that person," and he was narrating a story, and then he said. So he was exaggerating it. The wheel that turns fast, it steps on the pile of dung, he was saying. And then the second in, looks like he knows. He must be the one who knows things that I had been looking for. Mm. And then he asked me to enter attendee retreat. And my young sons, one was only 7, was it 7? Or they were about 6 and 8 or 7 and 9. So the final examination was coming, and I was hesitant to enter the retreat when the Venerable was saying, telling me to do it. But he said, see which one benefits you more. The practicing the Dhamma and succeeding, doing well in your practice, or the children's examination. Just weigh yourself which one is more beneficial. So I was alone with my 2 sons. My husband was in the front lines, at the front lines. But I went home and asked the teacher, the class teacher, could you help me? The Venerable says I had to enter a retreat. So and there were only, my 2 boys would be left there and private. So I just left them. And when and then my practice started, of course. And when I concentrated on in-breath, out-breath, the most I could do was 5 times, 7 times, 10 times would be the most. And then mind would start wandering. And on about the 5th or the 6th day, I decided, okay, I can't concentrate at the nasal tip. So I might as well give up. And on that night, the Venerable mentioned in his Dhamma talk, the sermon about temperaments. And he said, those with predominant craving, predominant tanha, the jarita, they have to practice the Vedana-nupassana, contemplation of feelings. Because in the Mahasatipatthana, the Buddha says, because in the dependent origination, the Buddha says, Vedana Piccaya Tanha. Therefore, those with predominant tanha jarita, craving, predominant craving, they have to practice the contemplation of feelings. And then those with predominant deity jarita, temperament with wrong views, predominant wrong views, they have to practice the Citta-nupassana, because it is in mind that wrong view dwells. Of course, when you go into details, there are so many practices and so many steps. But the Venerable was, I think, he was intending this particular subject toward me, and this was all in this very brief way he was talking about this. Therefore, those with Daithi-charita, wrong views, predominant wrong views, they have to practice the Chaitanya-nupassana, the contemplation of consciousnesses, because it is in mind that wrong view dwells. Vedana, Chaita, Kaya-nupassana, those with, what is the word for that? Raga-charita. Raga-charita, what is the word for that? Raga. Raga-charita, they have to follow the Kaya-nupassana. Lustful temperament, sorry. Thank you. Lustful temperament. They have to contemplate the Kaya-nupassana. Only when you are aware of the non-beautiful, those loathsomeness of the Kaya, of bodily loathsomeness of the body and so on, then your lust will be gradually overcome. And finally he said, so while he was mentioning those with lustful temperament, those with those with lustful temperament, the Kaya-nupassana, and then Daithi-charita, predominant wrong views. And while he was mentioning these three, I was wondering mentally I was trying to make out what category do I belong to. And because I was only 32 or 33 at that time, so I was rather young. And I was, do I belong to the lustful temperament or this or the wrong view, the temperament with predominant wrong views? And I was wondering which category I belong to. And as I was wondering, though I'm speaking, while I'm saying this, it goes, it takes some time. But while I was thinking, the Venerable's instantly giving the answer. In those days, when I was just thinking and he was instantly giving me the answers, these were taking place so fast. And while I was wondering which category do I belong to, and while I was just thinking, and before my thought even ended, the Venerable was saying, those with do I say intellectual or intelligent temperament, or what do I say? They have to practice the Dhamma-nupassana. And even when he had said that, I was not getting the answer. And he continued to say, those with intelligent temperament, while meditating, their mind goes here and there, one thought comes up, another thought comes up. These are those with intelligent temperament. Or I hope this is the right word.
Right, maybe an analytical mind or something.
Yes. And then he said, those with this temperament, intelligent temperament, they have to practice the Dhamma-nupassana. So maybe Dhamma-nupassana is what I have to do, I was thinking. And I was, at the same time, I was thinking, what do I do with Dhamma-nupassana? And while I was thus thinking, what do I do with Dhamma-nupassana? The Venerable was saying, Dhamma-nupassana, in brief, is to contemplate the arising and the passing away. So, I contemplate the arising and the passing away. And from the next day onward, while I was walking, I would contemplate. When I set foot on the ground, this is hardness. And then I raised the foot, I lifted the foot, the hardness has passed.
So you changed your practice from the in-breath, out-breath.
Yeah, in-breath, out-breath to the arising and passing away.
Right. I think that's a really interesting story because it also highlights when you're in a country like Myanmar where you're able to have access to some of these great masters who not only have the study of the words of the Buddha and are able to quote by memory what's written in some of these scriptures, they not only have the meditative experience of their own practice and knowing what works and what doesn't, and able to give directions that way, but they're also able to connect with the student on a much deeper level, as you've described, answering questions almost before you're able to ask them. Even as you're forming the thoughts in your mind, the answers are coming. And so this is highlighting this special experience that you're able to have in this country of so much wisdom background coming from a teacher that's able to not just give you kind of a one-size-fits-all technique and just keep working at it, but is able to give you different options of how to practice based on both his pariyati and patipati study to guide you.
Exactly. The thing is, he became a monk very late in life, and then he was not learned in scriptures. But one day he said he went ruby mining in Mogok.
As a layperson, then.
As a layperson, as a very it was those were very difficult days. He had been a farmer. He had been a roadside worker and so on. And one day in Mogok, he at a roadside stall, he saw this book. First, it was it was by another Sayadaw, not Chao Tembo, I think, Chao Tembo. And then after that, he was very much impressed reading this Chao Tembo by the Chao Tembo Sayadaw.
That stone boat?
Yes. Chao Tembo. And then
Stone boat Sayadaw.
Yes. After some time, he found the Venerable Mogok Sayadaw's book. And then he was so satisfied reading the Mogok Sayadaw's, especially the Dispelling the Wrong Views. And after that, he went to Mandalay, and where he met his first master teaching him the Mogok method.
So this was a teacher in the Mogok tradition.
Yes.
Right.
And then he came back to that little hill, and then that was where he practiced.
So he gained the instruction of the Mogok method from a teacher in Mandalay,
yes.
And then went off by himself in the nature of the Chin Hills to pursue the practice.
It was his village. He was.
He was from there.
He was from Pongtang Pomnya place.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So that was his home region.
Yes.
Was he Chin?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. He could be because he spoke Chin also.
Oh, right.
Yeah, a little bit of Chin.
Right.
But then the dialects, the area.
There's so many Chin dialects. Yeah.
Even this village and the next village, you don't understand anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was about the 7th or the 8th day, I heard about Master saying it is to be aware of the arising and the passing away. And during meals, there were not very many people there. So I had lunch at the west end of his monastery. I was the only one having lunch there, and I was while I was having lunch, and after I had each time after I had swallowed a mouthful, I would say, "Oh, the tongue consciousness has arisen and has passed away." And then there would be another mouthful, and then swallowing it, and I would be contemplating, "Oh, another tongue consciousness has arisen and has passed away." And it was about the 8th day, because I would be there only for 10 days. And on about the 8th day, at the night sermon, it was from 7 to 8. And he was saying, contemplating arising and passing away first, without even contemplating mind and matter, your wrong view, your deity, would not even be shaken in the least bit, he was saying. And I knew, because there were only about 10 or 12 villagers at night time. 20 would be the most when the teachers came back during school holidays. Mm-hmm. And I knew he meant it for me. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, oh, in those days, we could only light one small candle near the venerable. Everything was dark. The little hall was dark, and I always would sit at the back of the little hall, and there would be only about 12, 20 would be the most. And I was thinking, oh, now he is saying this for me. Mm-hmm. And so what do I do to get rid of this wrong view of self, Sakaya deity? It was because the Venerable was saying, you are only contemplating arising and passing away, and your Sakaya deity will not be shaken off even in the least bit, he was saying. Mm-hmm. So what do I do now? I was thinking, and even before my thought had stopped, he was saying, I was thinking, what do I do? And he was giving me the answer. To get rid of Sakaya deity, go back to contemplating mind and matter first. Only with contemplation of mind and matter, your wrong view of self, Sakaya deity, will be dispelled. Mm. So from the next day onward, I was, and I heard my other friend, Dhamma sister, teaching another man that at first it is the visible object, and then it is the hand moving, which is the air element, and I followed the same way. So I was the only one having lunch at the foot of the venerable small place, mm-hmm. and I had all the time, and I could eat at leisure, I could eat contemplating, and then when I first looked at the plate of rice, I would contemplate, this is looking at what is conventionally, what is conceptually the rice, mm-hmm. I would say this is the visible object, and this is the eye base. The eye base and visible object are matter. The eye consciousness is mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is mind and matter. I would do it very slowly with every step. Mm-hmm. And then I would take the hand forward toward the spoon. And then I would contemplate the hand moving. This is the air element. This is the air element. And the spoon hardness. And when I touch the spoon, this is hardness. Hardness is matter, and the body base, we call it, the body base is matter. Mm. So the hardness and body base are causes, hardness and body base are matter, and cognizing the hardness, which is the body consciousness, is mind. This is mind and matter. And then I take the spoon back to the mouth. Again, I was contemplating, and the hand is moving toward the mouth. So this is, the air element is matter, the hardness is matter. And cognizing hardness is the mind, a body consciousness mind. This is mind and matter, and so on. Mm-hmm. And then as I chewed the food, the tongue base and what is that? Taste. Mm. The taste and, in English, sorry. Taste and tongue base are matter. Matter is not capable of knowing. Mm-hmm. And when this matter, taste, which is not capable of knowing, comes into contact with the tongue base, again, which is not capable of knowing, so that which is not capable of knowing is matter. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the tongue base is matter, the taste is matter. But when this taste, which is not capable of knowing, comes into contact with the tongue base and taste, that which are not capable of knowing come into contact, there arises the tongue consciousness, which cognizes taste. And that which cognizes taste is mind. And the other two are metta, or this is mind and metta, not I eating. And then you swallow it, and this mind metta passes away. And another mind metta arises, bringing the hand toward and so we contemplate the same way.
And this was your first meditative experience?
Very much so.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was a very deep experience to have as a first taste.
Yeah, very deep, but the shortest way.
How so?
Shortest way. Yeah.
What do you mean the shortest way?
The shortest way to understanding, I should say. Because most other friends that I have come across, they don't go into such details in contemplating the ultimate realities. This is the most you can be, the nearest you can be toward understanding the ultimate realities.
The Mogok.
The Mogok, it's the Buddha's way, but taught to us by the Mogok Sayadaw and then by my first master. Because this is understanding, contemplating mind and matter in this way. This is this is your nama rupa paricheda jnana, knowledge of discerning mind and matter. Even then, the Buddha says that this is not insight yet. Understanding mind and matter is not even insight knowledge yet. And after contemplating mind and matter, and when you have swallowed down the mind and matter, that cognized taste, it passes away, it has passed away. Only then, and then if one passes away, the cognition, the mind matter cognizing taste has passed away, another mind matter arises, the hand, the air element, taking what is conventionally the hand toward the spoon. One passes away, another arising. Only then insight begins, the Buddha says. And this is, you go in intricate steps, in small steps, but this is the nearest you can be toward understanding and practicing the.
Why do you think that is? Why do you suggest that this is that this methodology is the shortcut, you can say, to?
Yes, but because though it is slow, you are contemplating at a very slow pace. But this is the most you can be toward this knowledge of understanding mind and matter, nama rupa paricheda jnana, and then understanding causes, paccaya parekkhha jnana. The body base and the air element are matter. These two matter are causes. And cognition, cognizing this matter is the body consciousness, is the result. This is you go in slow steps, but you reach very far. With this small step, your knowledge opens up. You are open. You see this knowledge. You understand this knowledge. You contemplate this knowledge. So, though it is small, though it is only a small step, but it reaches far in your understanding of the crucial steps in your insight knowledge. And after that, when he said, you have to contemplate mind and matter, without contemplating mind and matter, your wrong view of self will not be dispelled, because what you are contemplating will be on hands, feet, conceptual objects, which are not the ultimate realities. For instance, conceptual objects, you say this is a spoon, and then a Burmese will not understand it. You will say this is rice, and then a Burmese will not understand it. So also when the Burmese say, bring me a spoon, in reality he is asking you to bring her a spoon, and because you don't understand it, what if she comes back, bring me a cup of water? This is how the concepts cannot be put to the actual practice.
The difference of concepts and actual reality, ultimate reality.
We call it tamil, And the Westerner, the English-speaking people say it is rice, but then this is sound only. The Burmese people will not understand when you say, bring me a bowl of rice, or when the Burmese say, I want Tamil chene. So these are concepts. But give the baby. This is all one of the many examples my great first master used to give. For instance, give the baby a piece of chili, the baby chews it, and he wails out loud, and he start crying, not stopping. Ask him, why are you crying, baby? And he will not be able to give you the answer. But it is evident this is the spicy taste that he has, the chili that he has chewed that makes him cry so hard. Therefore, in the spicy taste alone, there are no words. A child tastes it, it's spicy. A dog tastes it, it's spicy. A king, a Westerner tastes it, it's spicy. Right. An Indian who are fond of spicy food, he tastes it, it's spicy. Therefore, in spicy taste alone, there is no word at all, only the essence. This essence, which is spicy taste, is true to all. It is spicy taste to a queen, it is spicy taste to a beggar, it is spicy taste to a dog. This spicy taste, which is true to all, is the ultimate reality. Calling it chili, or us Burmese people saying it is ngayoti, these are all concepts. And when you contemplate, you have to understand this ultimate reality, contemplate on the ultimate reality. For instance, you stand, and then it is the supportive air element that helps you able to stand upright. In the Buddha's language, it is the air, Vayo, this is the Buddha's language, Vayo, the Pali language, spoken since the Buddha's time and still being used in Buddhist countries where venerables have learned this Pali language, Vayo, the air element. Therefore, this Vayo, which is true to all, is the Paramattha, the ultimate reality, true to all. But even then, this Paramattha is only the Paramattha in the sense that we, those speaking the Buddha's language, understand that this is supportive air element. But the English call it the supportive air element, and because of this supportive air element, we are able to stand upright. Or us Buddhists, we call it Thaukan Vayo. But then these are names, concepts based on the ultimate reality, the Paramattha. The supportive air element, the Vayo in the Buddha's Pali language, or Thaukan Vayo in our Burmese language, these are the words describing the ultimate reality.
So it sounds like a large part of Monle Sayadaw's teachings, as followed by his own teacher Mogok Sayadaw, was helping the yogi be able to separate between the concept and the ultimate reality.
Yes, this is
contemplation.
The great Mogok Sayadaw's, based on the great Mogok Sayadaw's teachings and taught to us by our first master, the Monle Sayadaw.
Using the law of dependent origination.
Yes,
right.
The dependent origination. I hope we might one day have the time to talk about this dependent origination.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Yeah, so after your first course with Monle Sayadaw, you had a very powerful introduction to being able to contemplate using his specific instructions to you based on what he was seeing in your practice and checking in. You were able to get these instructions that allowed you to distinguish between the concepts which you'd always seen things in life and just entry into the ultimate reality of how things actually were. And how did this affect you once the course ended, once you went back to life?
And when I went home and when I reported to the master that I have made the 10 days, and he said, even when you are home, continue with the practice. So, but of course, many times I would be forgetful. But many times I would remember to do it too.
Was this like a formal meditation practice he was recommending, or just an awareness or contemplation to have throughout life?
Yes, there's in everything. Of course, many times there would be anger. And then, oh, the anger has passed away. This is your meditation.
Right. So when the anger would come, then you would observe the concept of anger going into the ultimate reality of the manifestation.
You're right.
So it wasn't so much a formal sitting practice. It was more of a...
I would, in those early days, because the house was quiet, my little boys would be at school. I would come back from the clinic. And in the afternoon, I would do it was only half an hour the first time I met Master. After that, these days, they do a 1 hour session. And the thing is to be, I can't say to be mindful, because I'm not, I don't tend to be mindful at all times.
Sure, yeah.
But when I remember to be mindful, and then during meals, of course, I was having lunch alone after clinic, and then having meal, and then sometimes I would enjoy the lunch, and then I would. You can apply it from every aspect. So this is somanasa vedana, pleasant feeling. You enjoy the lunch. This is somanasa vedana. Or then sometimes mind and matter. Okay, tongue base and taste are matter. The tongue consciousness is mind. You swallow it. Okay, the mind matter concerning tongue base. It has arisen. It has passed away. Or then I hold the spoon. Or this is hardness and body base are matter. Cognizing hardness is mind. Body consciousness is mind, and so on.
So you continue to follow those instructions.
Yes. Whenever I remember to. These days, my attention is much on the translations, but previously I was more into contemplating.
Right.
And anger also would benefit me a lot. Many times at times I would be angry, and then anger has passed away, and this is a very good feeling. And then the pleasant feeling has passed away. And after I had done it for years, I won't go into all the details. This space is matter. This object is matter. The two come into contact. This consciousness. I wouldn't go into all the details. I would concentrate on only one. I might do all, or I might do one. So
depending on the mind state and
how I felt like doing it. Like this is pleasant feeling, or I would say in Pali the somana. I don't know Pali very much, but those common things I would say. Oh, this is somanasa vedana. This somanasa vedana has passed away. Or anger. Anger benefits me also a lot. The anger has arisen. Now the anger has passed away. The anger has passed away. Now there is neutral feeling, indifferent feeling.
Your husband must have been pleased for that practice.
He practices much more than I do, because he was at the front lines, and he was a very good commander
in the military.
Yes. He was a very good commander, and in the villages, whenever he would go, and the villagers would say, "Oh, this is Abbas battalion, Abbas regiment," meaning this is the commanders. So they just hide their weapons, and he would be. There was this, what do you call, kerosene lamp, or at night he would be at the primary school. There was this kerosene lamp so bright, and his sergeant, he was a Chin Christian, and he was so worried. What if it is so dark outside? If they aim straight at him, and what do I do? He would be thinking. And then, but the villagers, they would just come, hide their weapons, and they would come listen. So wherever he went near the Kachin and Shan boundaries, things would be peaceful.
And those were not peaceful times or peaceful areas in general.
And then because they had to stay in houses, so he would go to one of the old ladies' house, and And in the morning, as soon as he woke up, he would meditate.
So after you took your course, he then became involved with Monle Sayadaw?
Yes, very much.
So you became a Dhamma family.
Yes. And the villagers, they would be, Abba is meditating.
Oh.
so the house would be quiet, and Abba means big uncle. So,
right.
so they would call him Abba is meditating.
So he would meditate in the morning and then go out to his military post. And
at night, when they were in villages, they would have this kerosene lamp, and even from nearby villages, they would come listen to the Dhamma talk by Abba.
Your husband would give Dhamma talks?
Yes.
Right.
He was very fond of doing this.
And the villagers would, the Buddhist villagers
would come.
Even
from nearby villages, they would come.
And they would come to listen to him. Yeah. How interesting. So you carried on taking courses from Monle Sayadaw and learning from him and developing, I imagine, over the years?
And then one time we invited the Venerable Monle Sayadaw, but we couldn't go to the village. We could go only as far as Mape, the nearest small town. It was all those tick cutting season, and we went all only as far as Mape, and we had Dhamma talk given by the Monle Sayadaw, and Abba sent some trucks to those villages to come and join the retreat. Yes.
He sent military trucks to pick up the villagers.
In those days, we had truck from the construction construction ministry, those old run-down trucks, and so like this.
And eventually you brought him to Yangon for a course, right?
Yes, many times. And it was my sister and my brother-in-law who donated this place in 10th Maipaku. But the Venerable is no more. And we have got other masters. Right.
If my memory serves me right, when we talked about this before, you had mentioned that because you and your husband were learning from him, you wanted to bring him to Yangon to expose him to more people to learn his Dhamma and his teachings. And so I think you said that it was your home or your family's home where during Water Festival?
So the first time, because I knew that my master was someone definitely not ordinary. So I just brought him, and because there was no one to come listen to the Dhamma talk in those first days. So during the Water Festival days, I would go to all the neighbors' houses and would ask them to come listen. And then it was a very small group in those first days.
So we should say Water Festival is the Burmese New Year, where there's several.
And then when I got back, I think I was thinking about it the whole time. What do I do to make people know Master and hear his very beneficial Dhamma talks? And then I realized I had to write some articles. So I wrote articles on my master.
And where were those published?
And after the magazine came out...
This is like a Buddhist magazine?
Yes. And in Burmese, it was Dhamma Yoso. And then the editor was U San Lue, who was born a Muslim. And then because he met a Christian girlfriend, he was thinking about becoming Christian. And finally, he became a Buddhist.
Okay.
So he was the editor. And then it was the first, the early magazine, and when my article was there, and people knew it. And the second time, I brought Master to my family's, my parents' place again, and then this time the people had read these articles, and it was a very crowded place.
So the first time you brought him to give these sermons during the Burmese New Year and no one came,
it was only our neighbors and some of the people.
You had this great master from the forest.
I was satisfied because there were some people listening to Master, and I was very happy.
But then the second year after you got the news out, and more people came. The second time,
it was a very crowded place.
And so you actually had the course in your parents' home?
Yes. There were 3 houses. The front house, my mom's place. The second house, because I was in the mountains, I didn't live at home. And the middle house, my sister's place, and she had 2 houses away, she had a big new house. And the third house was my brother's place, my childhood home. And then one of my neighbors who had recently built a house, she donated the place. So it was my family compound with all the... so it was not very comfortable. There were not enough toilets, not enough bathrooms, but people didn't complain because they too realized that Master was someone real extraordinary.
How long was the meditation course here?
It was a 7 days retreat.
Yeah. And what type of people attended?
Because they had read my articles.
Because
the first time...
It was from people from Yangon or from all over, or what types of people?
The first time, because I realized that I had to write some articles. So for the second retreat, there were people having read my articles. And those who had read this, they knew. Because when they read my articles, these teachings are from someone who really knew, and they understood it.
They understood he was authentic.
So it was a very crowded place.
I see.
But it was very beautiful. Oh, in the afternoons, all the yogis, where they were walking, meditating, or just sitting and relaxing, because there was no fixed pattern. You can't sit, or you have to do something, this thing. So those people were just taking a stroll and quiet and lovely.
Right, and I think you had one very special guest that you told me about before.
Oh, the Aung San Suu Kyi, yes. It was the third or the fourth time. And then there were those intelligence people, and then my husband got into trouble.
Oh, what year was this?
I have to look back.
So she wasn't. This was a year she was not under house arrest, I guess.
No, not yet.
So she was in.
Maybe under house arrest, but she did go out.
She had some access.
I'm not very sure about that.
Right. So you had Aung San Suu Kyi in your home, and you had the military intelligence outside.
In-laws from 2 sides.
Oh,
yeah.
With her family.
No, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, married Aung San Suu Kyi's first cousin. So sorry, can I say this?
Sure.
So we are in-laws from 2 sides.
Right. Yeah. So that must have been exciting.
So he stopped getting promoted.
Oh.
but now it's a fun thing.
And how did she take to the teachings? Do you remember?
Yes, but after the second or the third day, she couldn't come.
Oh, right. And if I seem to...
But then, my brother-in-law, whose father was assassinated, the Bojok Aung San's eldest brother, was assassinated along with Bojok Aung San on Mother's Day. So she came, my brother-in-law and his family brought Monle Sayadaw to that house for sermon. Each time the Sayadaw came...
To which house?
Bojok Aung San's brother's house, just across the road from the Aung San Suu Kyi's place.
Right, so you're connected with all of these other kind of great Burmese families, and I believe, if memory serves me right, that your family home was next door to the Ko Gyi family home as well. Is that correct? You were neighbors?
This was when we moved. My parents bought this new place, but actually, my grandfather was, for a short time, the premier. Which is now the eye hospital on Kandoji, near the Kandoji Lake. Previously, it was the Netherlands Bank's house. So my grandparents' place was between what is now the eye hospital, which was previously the Netherlands Bank's. It used to be a very beautiful place on the hill with all green grass and everything. And the other side, this was previously the Rakhine family Ucho's place, which is now the Nepalese embassy.
I see.
So in between was my grandparents' place, where all our cousins were born except me.
Right. And the Goenka family was also...
So this is our current house.
Oh, this is your current house, right?
But they have moved away also.
Right. So you had a little bit of when you at some period in your life you were growing up when they were next door, or that?
I was growing up. Most of our lives, we grew up in our grandparents' place near the Ko Gyi Lake.
Okay, that was the other place.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So Dad was the great grandson of Burma's last crown prince who was assassinated.
And what was the name?
Gangaw, Prince Gangaw.
Right. So a lot of connections there.
Yeah, but we don't think very much about those things and those connections. We went very poor when our lands and all our crops were taken over. We went very poor.
This was after 62?
Yeah. After that.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you had taken Monle Sayadaw into Yangon to expose him to more people there. The first time, it was hard to get the word out. The second and third time, the courses were totally full. People were wanting to come, even though it was at your family compound. What happened then after this?
And then we found that our place was not big enough because after that there were thousands of meditators.
Oh, wow.
During the water festivals days, and my brother-in-law, bless him, he's so good-hearted. So even though he didn't have much money at the time, he bought this place at Semaingong Pago, 10th mile. Pago, and started this Monle Toya.
So your whole family was really involved and invested.
And then the pioneers, each month there would be a meeting at my parents' place and my sister's house, and then we would donate about 1,000 each one of us. And with this small collection and with a big chunk from my brother-in-law, we gradually built small buildings at this Pago Semaingong. And
right. And so then that was his first monastery. That was Monle Sayadaw's first monastery. Is that correct? Yeah, right.
And after that, I think we have had some talks about my master, knowing what I was practicing, if it was on the right track, and he would bring me back onto the right track. And then my master, by the time I had hundreds, I can't even count these. I had hundreds of instances of master reading people's mind. And then that night, it was Christmas. And as usual, my husband, we would get invited by churches, and we would have a very lovely Christmas for our Chin Christian families, Kachin Fish Christian families at the regiment. And then he would sing, he would play the guitar, and so on. And his friends, young friends across town would come, and they would be playing the guitars or the band, and so on. And that night, the Baptist Church invited us. And then on the next night, we went to Master's night sermon. And the Master, this was the only time he did this. Finishing the sermon, he went out. And having taken a step outside, he came back into the small Dhamma hall. He stood in front of us, and he said, when the time comes, when the karma is done, you pass away, nothing can be done. Nothing can be done, nothing can stop this. Because by that time, I have had hundreds of instances knowing my master, and I was mentally, in mind, I was thinking, oh, somebody is going to die. and went home, and that night, we didn't have direct phone lines in those days. We didn't have electricity at night, and then the wireless communication, or do I call that? And in the middle of the night, that little apparatus rang, and it said Dad was in critical condition, and then he died.
Oh.
So this is one of the instances that come up now to tell you of Master's, my experiences with Master knowing all these things. Yeah. And then Then after that, we were posted to Yangon. And again, it was Christmas time. And my sister at that 10th-mile Pagoda retreat, she was holding a small retreat. She was holding a small retreat only with a close circle of our people. And then the Venerable was not there. He had just left after the December retreat. And when he had crossed the Chindrin River from Mong Yua to the copper mine, we used to stay the night at the copper mine. The Yugoslav people had left that very lovely place, and we always had a night stop there. And the master from Jezen town, that copper mine across the Chindin River from Mong Yua, he called us. And this was the first time he called us. And my sister and I were so happy. Actually, he was hinting that something bad was about to happen. We didn't know. This was the only time he called us. And we're hearing Venerable on the phone. We were all laughing, smiling. And then during that small retreat in 10th Mile Pagoda, there was this attendant monk, and he was narrating this story. In Monle, we have this custom. All his assistants, when they want to talk about this Nama Rupa or Anicca Dukkha, whatever, whenever they would narrate stories, it would always be the stories master would always use, and never out of that scope, out of that sphere. But that day, the attendant monk, the assistant monk, was narrating this story. If you are destined to die with this thing, you can't escape it, he was saying. Is my English correct?
Yes.
And then he was saying, at a remote jungle village, there was this man, and the astrologer predicted that you would die of tiger bite. And from that day on, he never went out of his house. And they had this custom of having their toilets, having a hole on the floor and so like that, so he didn't go out. And after some time, the villagers came back and shouted to him, "The tiger which was supposed to have killed you is dead now. You can come down now." And so he came down, and there was this dead tiger, and he kicked the tiger. "Are you the tiger that was supposed to have killed me?" And he kicked the tiger, and his foot scraped the incisor teeth of the tiger. And then it got infected, and nothing could cure this infection. And finally, he succumbed to this wound. And he was saying, and the monk, and he was saying, winding up the story, the monk was saying, if this is the only time, the first time, the last time he said this, because they would not go out of the master's stories.
Right.
And if you are destined, if you have been destined to die this way, you cannot escape it at all. And then because my husband would have to go back to office the next day, we went home, and my eldest nephew had already died of, and then this was my second nephew. And so this time also he asked his mom's permission, my sister's permission. Only this one night I'll come back to the retreat, for the retreat, he said. And that night, he, along with his friend and with his girlfriend, they said some other young people chased their car, or there were rumors going around, and some children of well-known people, and so like that. And the car crashed against a tree, and they all died. And the assistant monk, and he, after some days or some months, and when we went back to the 10th Mile center, and we were talking about that, and the monk said, "I don't know why I was saying that story now. while I was telling that story, it never crossed my mind I would be telling that story. So, from my hundreds of experiences with Master, I knew it was Master making him hint that this was about to happen.
Right. So your experiences with him, you saw this clairvoyance he had, not only in being able to read meditators' minds or knowing what the future is, also knowing what their practice was going like, and being able to subscribe different kinds of meditative techniques depending on who the yogi was. And you and your family were the ones that literally brought this great monk out of the jungle, out of the forest, into the city, and now Monle Sayadaw and Monle tradition is pretty well known. There's various meditation monasteries throughout the country, and he was able to expand upon his mission and reach many people after those initial attempts at the Thinjan, the Burmese New Year courses.
Have you heard about that?
Sorry?
You heard about that?
About what?
The Thinjan retreat?
Well, the ones you mentioned. Yeah, you mentioned the early retreats.
So he was in America too, but then we could take him only once before he passed away. Right.
Yes. So you took him from the jungle into greater contact with people, and maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Benefited from his teachings.
Yes, when we were posted to the Chin Hills, we took him to the Chin Hills too. But the first time it was at our office building. The second time it was at the monastery. And then the third time we didn't invite much, but the Venerable was there, and there were Chin Buddhists. So hearing that the Venerable was there, some of the old ladies, they didn't understand it. But then they say they want to gain some good results. So they came, they didn't understand anything.
So then you were also...
Then his retreats there, they give always, it's only vegan, vegetarian food.
Oh, he was a lifelong vegetarian?
Yeah, that's... after this, I think they have gone vegan.
Ah, okay, that's uncommon in this country.
Yes, but then Monle is a vegan vegetarian, and then we have others too. Not much, no? Yeah. Not many.
Right, you all say it obviously as well, vegetarian.
But he doesn't make his followers follow.
You mean Monle Sayadaw preached it as one of his teachings?
Yes, so the center is always vegan vegetarian.
Oh, it's always been that way?
Yes, the retreat also.
Oh, interesting. And does that go into his teachings as well, the idea of vegetarianism?
And then there might be some others. But we don't hear of many, huh?
But did Monle Sayadaw talk about vegetarianism as part of his teaching, or was that just something that happened to happen?
No. He talks about compassion and the sufferings of animals. He doesn't like it. Many times he would scold us. He might sound angry, but he doesn't like animals suffering. And he would describe how the animals fear, how they beg to be pardoned, and yes.
Right. And so then once he got to Yangon and once these retreats became more popular, your family purchased this land in Bagao, I think you said, for the first meditation monastery where he can hold retreats in a proper way. What then happened after that to help expand the Monle mission?
By that time there were many rich people coming, so we didn't just have to do much, because people were donating and buildings came, and then many generals or high professionals and very rich people, they also came.
He became popular in that crowd.
Oh, they want to be near the Venerable all the time. We were at the back.
You were kind of pushed away at that point.
Yeah, but they knew we were the pioneers.
Right.
So they gave us they hold a good place for us. But then they wanted to be near the Venerable.
Why do you think he became so popular with that crowd and gained that following?
Many came to believe that he was actually someone not ordinary. So they had their own experiences too. I had hundreds of experiences, hundreds. I have even lost count. So they knew they have their own experiences too. And then at one time there were about many good things too. many good things too. But then what comes to mind now, there was this other thing. And then there was this colonel's wife was there, and she was very fond. She loved the Venerable very much. And then another monk, another assistant monk was giving the Dhamma talk at the Dhamma hall. And the Venerable with his other monks was in his building. And whenever she came, she wanted to be near the Venerable all the time. And she was saying all the things that she felt like saying. The Venerable, for the first time, go listen to the Dhamma talk. Go to the Dhamma hall. And she didn't seem to notice it. And then she was saying all that she wanted to say. She was very fond of the Venerable. The second time also, the Venerable, after a few minutes, the Venerable said, go listen to the Dhamma talk. And then she kept on, after a few minutes, 10 or 12 or 13 minutes, the Venerable, the voice was a little harsh this time, and I was starting to feel afraid because I understood the Venerable. And the Venerable, it was rather harsh. And she didn't get it then too. And the fourth time, the Sayadaw actually shouted at her, go to the Dhamma hall, listen to the Dhamma talk. And at that time, the monk, again this time, this is the first time they said, this other monk, not the first other monk, this is the second another monk, another second monk or second another monk. He was saying, this was the only time he was saying, when their mother died, he wept and he wept, and he thought he would never be happy again. And he thought that he was the saddest man in the world. There would be no other person sadder than he was. But now look at me, I am laughing, I am telling you jokes. So it all passed away. And I noticed that being familiar with all the Dhamma talks the Venerable used to give, all the Dhamma talks his assistants gave using the example of the great Venerable. So this time again, like the man on the hut who never came down afraid of the tiger, this time again I noticed it, but didn't know who it was for. But I noticed it. And the next morning, it was Roots from South Africa, and there was Siali Khemachari of the Bawa Center. She's now back in her native Italy.
Right, she was also a follower of
yes,
Monle
Sayadaw, when Sayadaw was there. And then Siali Khemachari and Ruth, it was their first time to Monle. And they were there. And I was translating for them the next morning in Sayadaw's building. And then Venerable stopped it. Go have your breakfast. I haven't had breakfast. I was late for breakfast, and go have your breakfast. And that time, my sister came to me in a hurry and said, "Oh, Mom has passed away. Let's go. So the talk given the last night was hinting at Mom would be passing away. So these are the passing aways that come to mind, and I'm talking to you. But there are many good things. There are many funny things. And there are many things the Venerable would scold us or sometimes hint good things. So I have had hundreds. So I have stopped where I did about Venerable knowing the practices or whether what you are doing is right or wrong. And now this is all about the Venerable knowing things we never would know in advance.
Right. So you had this early wish in your life to want to be in contact with a saintly person, want to be in contact with a full arahant, someone who was liberated, and then you got to be in the audience with someone very special indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for someone who's never had that experience, how would you describe it? What was it like being in proximity with someone like that?
Because the first time it was about my mind and matter, because mind would be always wandering off, and then I got I could concentrate at the nasal tip for 4 or 5 times or 10 times at the most. And the first time he said those with mind going off, those are with intellectual or whatever that is, temperament, they have to do the arising and passing away. So since that very first time, I had always appreciated him. This was the first time I was even near someone so extraordinary.
If foreigners wanted to learn more about Monle Sayadaw's teachings or writings or practice, is there a way to do that?
I think because this is what happened. I had those piles of magazines, Dhamma So, in where I had written about Venerable's Dhamma talks. And then after the Venerable's popularity had grown, there were many monks at Monle, and they were latecomers. It was after about 10 years or more than that, after I had met the Venerable. So I took all the magazines and placed them at the Sima, where the monks, many of the monks were staying. And when again I remembered to go check, the magazines all were in pieces. So I have lost all the articles I have written. But there is a friend who we met when he was also a captain, and who we met when we were posted to Pongtang Pongnya, and he was posted to Pongtang Pongnya. And if I could find some of the articles, I might be able to translate these. If there is anyone wanting to read more about the Great Venerable. But the supernormal things, Venerable didn't like me writing these, so it's more about the teachings, which are better. Which would be more beneficial for the audience.
Right. Was his teachings kind of purely in the field of Mogok Sayadaw, or were there any differences or innovations he had that were distinct from how Mogok taught?
He would stick to the Mogok method, but if there were examples like examples that were not of much significance to deviate, not from the Mogok Sayadaw's original teachings, he would use some examples.
So he might illustrate something in a different...
For example, like the chili, the child chewed, and then salt, like the concept. For instance, give some grains of salt, and the Indians will call it nimak, or he used some Indian word, nimak, I think. And we Burmese say it is sa, and the English, but then the taste, which is the ultimate reality, which is salty, it is true to all.
So that was how he was able to illustrate the difference between concept and ultimate reality.
Very lovely examples he would give.
Right, and so that the examples he gave might have been different than what Mogok Sayadaw would give, but the type of teachings were completely in line.
Yes, the Mogok Sayadaw would stick mainly to the Pali, the teachings, the methods. Our master, much as he was devoted to and strictly followed the Great Venerable's original teachings. The examples he gave were sometimes funny, sometimes very witty. He was very witty.
So Mogok meditation today, it's largely considered the most widely followed meditation method in Myanmar for foreigners who might not know the method because it hasn't been exported as some of the other methods have. Could you describe the Mogok method in a nutshell for someone who really doesn't know anything about it?
The Venerable Mogok Sayadaw, like the Monle Sayadaw, followed this great master. So it's mainly based on the ultimate realities. Because when we say it's gold or silver or diamond, then we are greatly deviated from the ultimate realities, which is hardness, which is the visible object.
The 4 elements.
Which is hot or cold. So the Great Venerable's teachings are mainly based on the ultimate realities and the insight stages. And the examples he gave are beyond these also. I could say much more beyond these also, like the 7 javanas, the impulses. I like the 7 javanas very much. You can find it on my Meditation Myanmar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the 7 javanas. Because I like it so much. It was one of the translations I made. Some of the translations I made.
And how would Mogok Sayadaw guide meditators towards the realization of this ultimate reality?
Joa, the thing is, I'm not even sure I should say this. There are many who can recite what they hear, or like in our case, whenever the master would ask, is it man or is it mind and matter, they would say, this is mind and matter. Or they would say, yes, this is so venerable, and things like that. But it is not my level of knowing who can know whether they really grasp it in their wisdom or insight knowledge or in level of knowledge. It is only the great arahants, only within the scope of the great arahants, who know what others don't know. But superficially, like all others, whenever the Venerable would say, is it mind matter or is it man? Is it mind matter, sir? All would shout in unison. But only the Venerable would know. Out of the thousands, there is no one who really have penetrative knowledge.
Right.
Or there is only one who has this penetrative knowledge.
Right. And what kind of guidance would the Venerable give for the yogi who was trying to have this penetrable knowledge but was still in the process of doing so?
Joa, if I have to say this, the Venerable, from my experience of being near the Venerable knows, they will only gain kusala kamma, and in this life I will give them what kusala kamma they can gather. So it is not even the Buddha who can make someone become an arahant or at least a sotapanna. It is the past, all the collections they have gained, they have gathered, which makes them. Otherwise, those all of them in the Buddha's time, they would have become arahants or at least sotapannas. This is not even. This is what they have collected throughout the samsara. This is what I think. What I think. I'm not sure if it is what I'm thinking is completely right.
So you felt that the great Sayadaw's Mogok.
Yes, having been near these great Sayadaws, having been near these great Sayadaws, they will know. They know.
And so they would then, you're suggesting they would mold the extent of their teachings based on the paramis and the karma and the accumulated merits of the students, knowing what they were capable of and not capable of
If
achieving.
they can't do anything about it, they won't. Then he will just guide them as much as he can, and they will gain as much as they can gain. That's all.
So the instruction that these Sayadaws would give to the individual yogis were largely dependent on what they perceived as their aptitude based on their past karma.
Yes.
Right. So there wasn't one kind of structure or technique.
Do we say it's past karma? I don't know what we could say that. But one thing I know is they know that this person will become someone, achieve something. I can only guess. Because Venerable will not say, he will become an arahant the next morning. He will become a sotapanna tomorrow morning. He won't be saying these sorts of things. So I can only guess. So they will know, but they won't say, look at him. He will become a noble person tomorrow. Not these things.
But they would give a different level of instruction to different students depending on what they saw in them.
But Joa, I think it's the instruction for all students, but the level of what they gain varies, I think. Like, for instance, when I was not successful concentrating at the nasal tip, he just said it is to go to Nama Rupa Pariccheda Jnana first. Knowledge, discerning mind and matter first. He didn't know. He won't say this is for this woman, this lady, this.
But those were individualized instructions based on his knowledge of you.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Right. Yeah. So would it be fair to say there's not one Mogok technique or one Monle methodology where students can just come and they all receive the same instruction, but that instruction is personalized based on the teacher-student relationship?
Yes, I think what the teacher sees through his insight wisdom about the student.
Right. So then the Monle mission expanded. He became very popular with people with money, people with power in the country. More centers were built. His name became more well known. And then what happened with you and your family and your practice as this really took off?
I practiced the same, but now that I'm more involved in translations, I'm more into translations, and then I found my second master. After we have come down from the Chin Hills, I found my second master who knew mind and who knew the practices as well as the Monle Sayadaw and the Mogok Sayadaw. And then his teaching, very unique, and I found only in his teachings.
And this was after Monle Sayadaw had passed away?
After the Monle Sayadaw had passed away.
Right.
And I was very fortunate because many of the people who we met in Monle, and we happened to live in the same, nearby, in the same township. Those previous earlier people from Monle, about 10 of them, we happened to live in the same township. And our second master, the Anecha Sayadaw or the Pakoku Sayadaw, was there near Aung San Suu Kyi's place also. Aung San Suu Kyi also became a devotee of our second master here. Aung San Suu Kyi, sorry.
Right. So we're just talking about Pakoku Sayadaw. We've just started to explore it, but as we're talking, I know that you have a Spanish meditator waiting for your translation and your support at Mogok Center. Is she there? Yeah. So I think we're going to have to end on a cliffhanger here. I think we've explored some wonderful things about Monle Sayadaw, and we've also piqued the interest of meditators about some great things coming up with Pakoku Sayadaw, but that will have to wait until the next visit. Otherwise, we're going to have to get cut off on a story, and I know you have to be on your way, so that will have to be next.
Yes, it was a nice talk. Nice meeting you again. Thank you, Joa.
Yeah, and it's so great to get this from you. You know, I remember the first time that I met you, and when I was doing research for the Meditator's Guide and I had been introduced by mutual friends, I ended up going to your house and interviewing you there. And I remember as I was hearing all these stories, I was writing them down. They were going into the pages of what would become the guide. But I remember thinking, these are the kinds of stories that should be shared with other people. This is such interesting and inspiring information. I really want to be able to find a way to bring more people in to hear this. And when the studio was set up, you were one of the first people that I thought I would really like to have the chance to bring you in to share these stories, to have your voice and these experiences you've had go for other people. So I'm really glad that we got to start here today.
I'm very happy to. Thank you also.
We'd like to take this time to thank our generous supporters who have already given. We simply could not continue to provide you with this content and information without the wonderful support of generous donors, listeners, and friends like you. Each episode helps in providing access to one more voice, one more perspective, one more insight. Every donation of any size is greatly appreciated and helps us continue this mission. We greatly appreciate your generosity, which allows us to maintain this platform. Thank you. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are being impacted by the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Your donation will go on to support a wide range of humanitarian and media missions, aiding those local communities who need it most. Donations are directed to such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, internally displaced person IDP camps, food for impoverished communities, military defection campaigns, undercover journalists, refugee camps, monasteries and nunneries, education initiatives, the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies, COVID relief, and more. We also make sure that our donation fund supports a diverse range of religious and ethnic groups across the country. We invite you to visit our website to learn more about past projects, as well as upcoming needs. You can give a general donation or earmark your contribution to a specific activity or project you would like to support, perhaps even something you heard about in this very episode. All of this humanitarian work is carried out by our nonprofit mission, Better Burma. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is directed towards this fund. Alternatively, you can also visit the Better Burma website, betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit card. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to these respective accounts or email us at info@betterburma.org. That's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA.org. If you would like to give it another way, please contact us. We also invite you to check out our range of handicrafts that are sourced from vulnerable artisan communities across Myanmar, available at alokacrafts.com. Any purchase will not only support these artisan communities, but also our nonprofit's wider mission. That's Aloka Crafts, spelled ALOKACRAFTS, one word, alokacrafts.com. Thank you so much for your kind consideration and support.
Oba yarananda dayananga yaranaya dayanam boda yaranam